Alright guys, welcome back to the T-38 build. And yes, dryer noises. Okay, so I'm getting the wings set up before I sheet them. I need to sheet them tonight because Andy's coming to get his parts, and he needs to use the wood things I got over there for weighting down the cores when you bond the skins on. So I need to get these skins on so he can take those wood pieces. Anyways, I'm getting this all set up. I had to. It's amazing how tight this whole area is for as large as this model is. I did have to clearance the forward spar, just a little bit where the ducting is at, and just a hair in the back. So I don't want to get any smaller on those, even though I think they're more than enough strength there, even still. But anyways, I did have to trim the upper surface of the spars. My wings ended up a little on the thin side. Andy's are a little bit thicker. I had to sand mine down to get rid of a bunch of the marks in them from the hot wires. So anyways, mine ended up a little bit thinner, so I had to do a little bit of trimming on those to get those to fit properly. And then I cut some little channels here in the wood for the spars to drop down into. Now this flat surface here in my wing area, that's the center line. It's supposed to be the center line of the wing. I got it pretty close, as you can see my trailing edges here. The leading edge, so I took a straight edge and I marked out the line from back here up here so I get the leading edge. As you can see, it's a little bit off. The wing ended up a little bit lower than I had on the plans. I really can't take it up anymore because I don't want to keep cutting into these spars. So not a huge deal. It's a quarter of an inch lower than it should have been. But anyways, I think that's pretty good. So I'm debating on cutting out this pocket now or grinding it out for the gear plates before I put the skins on it. Then I can just cut that skin piece off once they're cured, and then I'll have this ready to bond in once I get the spars glued in. So anyways, I think that's it. It's pretty well set up now. So, and then here's another shot of the stab all glued in, the stab spar. It's actually really strong. I got a fillet of epoxy around this spar, and I had to shave kind of the same thing. I kind of shaved this down a little bit because for the same reason my vertical tail core is a little bit thinner than it was supposed to be. So anyways, I was worried about the torsional stiffness of the model with the vertical spar, and man, you can grab that vertical spar and the horizontals and it's pretty rock solid, and that's what this piece missing right here. So I think what I'm going to do, just for a little bit extra strength, even though it is pretty strong, is I'm going to run some. I have some scrap 1/2 inch balsa sticks, a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. I'm going to run them from up here to down here, just to kind of tie them together on both sides. Then it'll create like a box. Granted, they aren't in line with each other. It's going to be a little bit of like an angle, but not a huge deal. Pretty much no extra weight for some added stiffness, and I won't have to worry about it. Anyways, I got to get my stabs. I think once I get my sheeting all done, I'm gonna start working on my stabs. So I got to sheet the vertical and the wings tonight. And as you can see here, once I put let me go grab them really quick. Where'd they go? Here they are. So once I have my wing mounts in here, let's see, this is so I got to trim these down a little bit too, but anyway, so these will get glued basically right at the edge of the balsa right here, right on center line. I got to trim them down. They're a little bit too big to fit in here, but anyway, so this one will glue to the wood on the fuselage, and then this one will glue in between the spars here, and it'll glue to the wing just like that. And then I'll have the other plate glued to the fuselage, and then I'm going to tie that that mount into the fan mount and probably put something to tie it into the inlet duct. But you can see right here that this should work pretty well. So I'll have 4 bolts, and I'll probably use nylon bolts just because it's easy. I'll use 4 nylon bolts, 2 in each corner. This will be glued in with like 30-minute epoxy, and then I'll have it to where once I get the wing center, because it'll twist without the rest of the structure in here. So when I glue these into the spars, I'll have it all set up to where everything's just perfect. And even if there is a little bit of a twist between the 2 wings, I can shim these and take that twist out of it. So it's kind of nice. I can kind of fine tune that. And if it has like a bad trim issue after we fly it, I can just shim the wing a little bit and probably get rid of the trim. So anyways, that's where we're at the moment. I'm gonna get these ground out with a Dremel 1/4 inch down, and then I'll cut my pieces for the sheeting, and then we'll get these things sheeted up and move on to the next step while those are curing. Probably let them sit for sure overnight, and I'll probably take them in the house overnight, let them cure. But anyways, let them sit overnight, and then tomorrow we can start gluing the trailing and leading edges on it, getting them all shaped out, and then once that's done, then I'll cut out my flight controls and then do all that stuff. So, but like I said, when these are curing, I'll get the stabs going, get those knocked out pretty quick, and this should be a full airplane by the end of the weekend, and we can start working on finishing it, doing filler and setting up servos and stuff, and then getting ready to polyurethane it. I do have to come up with a nose gear mount still. That's still MIA. The mains will be no big deal. That's already sorted out. So anyways, this thing's a beast. It's camera angle. But anyways, these wings are super thin. As you can see, they are thin, boy. But anyways, this thing's gonna fly awesome. It's gonna be really cool. All right, let's get back to work. All right, so I've marked out the spots in the wings that need to get cut out. A little trick that I do when I'm trying to Dremel out something for a certain depth is I'll put a little piece of tape. I mean, obviously you can't spin it up real fast with this on there, which isn't a huge deal, but I'll go around the perimeter with this of the hole. That way I know how deep I'm supposed to go. Then I just kind of I'll go across it a bunch of times, trying to not go below that tape, and then clean it up afterwards. But that'll kind of help control the depth so you don't make the hole too deep in the wing. So, all right, so I've got the spot cleared out. The little bit trick worked pretty good. So I also cut this out now because it's just easier to do before the sheeting, and much nicer looking. So I will have to cut out like the gear door area a little bit once I have that, but I don't have that yet, so I'm not really worried about it. But the gear does fit in there, but it's really close, and obviously this is in the way right now, but it's pretty much right there. So one thing I am going to do, I'm going to sand down just a little bit right here, and I'm going to glue in a piece of 1/64 ply over the top of that. That way this doesn't just break if you push on it. So anyways, I'm going to do that before I sheet it. So I have to hog out the other one still, but I also saved the slice I cut out, and I'm probably going to reinsert it. I'll put tape on both sides so it doesn't stick, but I'm going to stick it back in here after I put the sheeting on. Before I'll put it in there, then I'll put the sheeting on it. And the reason why is because if you don't, these could shift or move around a little bit while the weight's on the cores. They probably won't, but just to make sure it doesn't happen, I'm gonna leave this in there. That way it doesn't move when the sheeting is drying. So Anyways, I gotta cut out a little piece of 1/64th ply and sand a little recess into the foam, and then glue that in really quick. But before I do that, I'm gonna get this other wing done up, get it caught up. So anyways, pretty simple, and we're just about to the sheeting, so yay. All right, so with my trusty homemade sanding bar there, I got a nice little groove sanded into the upper surface on this wing. I just looked at it and went, oh man, I hope I cut that on the right side. Yes, I did. Whew, had a scary moment there. It's okay, that is the bottom. All right. So anyways, I got to cut a piece of 1/64th ply, and I'll probably use some 5-minute epoxy and glue that in. Then this will be ready to sheet. Just got to do the same thing on that one, and we'll be good. Oh, and I got to replace the gear doors on my Tiger Cat before we go flying with Andy. I was flying at FPV and had a hard bounce and go, and it collapsed one of the mains a little bit, and I didn't know, and I came in to land the next time, and the gear collapsed completely, and it broke the doors off of it. So the gear, I cycled the gear and it was fine, but anyways, stay focused. Okay, so let's get the other wing done. All right, so I ended up using foam safe because I'm lazy, but I got those glued in. So I need to cut my sheeting, and now that I did this, I'm like, I don't need to put those pieces of foam back in. I'll just skip that whole thing, but I will put a piece of masking tape over this exposed foam and the wood, because we're going to use Super 77 and that stuff gets everywhere, so I don't want it to get here because I don't need it here for the bonding surface for when I bond the gear plates on. So I'll kind of mask that off a little bit and then cut some sheets, and we'll get these puppies going. All right, more washer and dryer noises. Okay, so we're getting ready to glue the wing sheeting on using some Super 77. A couple of things to know. It's gonna make a mess. Stuff goes everywhere. It doesn't look like it, but the overspray just kind of like gets everywhere. I should be using some paper on the ground or something, but anyways, when you spray these, you don't want to get too close. I put a number of light coats on, and it seems to work pretty well. So you spray it on, wait a minute or so, then you lay the skin on it, flip it over, do the other side, then lay them in your core blanks. You need to make sure that you have the right core blanks for the right wing core. Otherwise, you're going to reshape your airfoil, and that's not what you want. So anyways, let's get these things sprayed up. All right, so you see I just finished spraying it. There's like a light dusting around the parts, and you see I'll have them labeled right side, left side, and arrows pointing up. So I got my right side core blanks with the lower blank laying down. So I'm gonna give this a minute or two, then as you can see, I made the skin enlarge quite a bit. There's no need to make it exact fit. You'll never get it down right. So make it oversized, makes it easier to put it on. Flip it over, repeat the process, super quick and easy. You just kind of, like I said, you mist it on. You don't get close, otherwise you're going to melt the foam. So let it sit for a couple minutes so the solvents and stuff can kind of bake out so they don't get trapped and melt the foam. Then yeah, we'll stick that skin on there and then flip it over, do the other side, put it in the core blanks. Go to the other wing, we'll get them both done, stacked on top of each other with that nice piece of plywood over there on top, and then I'll put some weights on top of it to hold it, and we'll sit it for at least a day, and we'll go from there. But yeah, let's get this stuck down and we'll flip it over. Okay, so I got the wings done. One thing you want to make sure is that your cores and your core blanks are all lined up when you put the weight on them. If they're misaligned at all, you could end up putting a twist in it. So anyways, get ready to do the vertical now. So I did have to scab on a little piece in the corner because this sheet was too small. I ran out of the bigger sheets. So anyways, you can see what 2 wings worth of glue residue looks like. It's a good amount. You don't want to be too shy with it, but you don't want to get carried away with it either. So I'm doing like probably 4 light coats about a foot and a half away from the foam. So let me see if I can film and shoot. Just kind of mist it on. Maybe let it sit for a little bit and then do a couple more coats. Alright, so we got the vertical done. Everything's drying. So I'm setting up my elevators. So you see these black marks here. I've looked at the plans and I've marked out the location of the stab. And basically what I did was so there's a 1/2 inch balsa trailing edge and a 1/4 inch leading edge for the stab. So what I've done here is I've put these up and I've marked them with a pencil, as you can see. Marked them for right and left, and I marked upper and lowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little groove in there, and then I'm going to glue these together with Super 77, and then that way they'll slip on real nice, and I don't have to worry about drilling them out or anything and messing them all up. So I'll pre-make a little groove, glue them together, then glue the leading and trailing edges on it. Actually, I'll probably do some carving first, then I'll glue the balsa on it, and then I'll finish carving them all out. And then once they're carved, then I will cut out the control surface. So these won't be full flying tails like the real ones. So here's my template here. So you can see where I've got my flight control, 1/4 inch balsa on both sides, 1/2 inch balsa trailing edge, 1/4 inch leading edge, and a 1/4 inch tip. So once these are all finished and the wings mounted, then I can glue these on permanent so I can get the angles right and everything. So anyways, I got to put the grooves in these and then we'll glue them together. See here, I've used a piece of heavy grit sandpaper, just fold it over and just kind of freehand ground this groove in there, which is pretty close. So I'll glue it together and then probably run a drill bit in there just by hand, just to make sure it's big enough, and then we'll glue the balsa on it and shape it out. Alright, that worked out pretty slick. It fit perfect. And I'm going to sit and drive for a while. I'm going to go inside, probably watch a movie with the family. Anyways, I'll probably cut it off right there for tonight. I'm trying to keep these videos a little bit shorter, that way it's not some super long drawn out video. So anyways, pretty stoked. Everything's sheeted. Tails are ready to be shaped out and cut apart for flight controls and hinge and everything. So things are moving really quick on this airplane. I'm super stoked, and I mean, I'll definitely be flying by Christmas time. So that was the goal. And once I get the parts out of the blanks tomorrow, we'll weigh everything and see where we're at with weight, take a before and after weight before we add all the balsa wood and everything to them. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and we'll see you in the next episode.